but taking it slow. Crafting life as we go. From laughs to tools, from brews to skies, we're squeezing joy, no need to try. It's life with a twist of lemon. Two best friends and a vibe you can lean on. Tales, ideas, and a pinch of delight. We're bringing sunshine day or night. It's life with a twist of lemon. Two best friends and a vibe you can lean on. Tales, ideas, and a pinch of delight. We're bringing sunshine day or night. Life with a twist. Life with a twist. Life with a twist of lemon.
Man, I don't even know where to begin. So, we're gonna do this like it's a real episode? Is that the plan?
I mean, why not? Maybe we can use it.
All right, hold on. So, let's talk this out. When was the last time we did this?
It was going into 2022, right? So, end of December 2021, we talked about moving into the new year.
So, Jonathan, that's almost 4 years ago.
A lot has changed in 4 years.
I don't think that much has changed.
If you say so.
So the website's back up. People may be getting notifications now that there's a feed and their files, and hopefully the files will work when they download them. That remains to be seen.
Right.
And I guess we have our AI overlords to thank for that.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I don't think that we ever would have gotten the site back up and running without the AI overlords.
And the architect behind the AI overlords. I mean, let's be honest now. The AI is only as good as the person driving it.
It's only a matter of time, Stan.
Only a matter of time. Maybe that's as good a place as any to start, John. AI has brought us to this moment because it made things that were hard easy or easier. And I think maybe that's the biggest thing that's changed in 4 years. Maybe.
I would say probably, globally speaking.
Globally speaking. On an individual level, I feel like we've got plenty to talk about. Plenty has changed. Some problems have gone away. Some problems have quite literally multiplied, I do believe. And so here we are. So when we started this, I'm just trying to harken back. When we started this, the notion was that we were going to take the thing that we discussed on the phone and just do it on a podcast.
Right. Because we thought other people would find it interesting, specifically when we were talking about new technology.
New technology. And we talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, we had that milkshake run. That was pretty epic.
Yeah, everybody got sick of us talking about Marvel, and now I don't think I've seen any Marvel TV or movies since then.
I've stayed up to date. I would say I'm less happy for staying up to date. Definitely less passionate. Yeah, but that was another good run, right? I think we talked a little bit about vacationing.
That's something else that's changed in the last 4 years, isn't it?
It has changed because I think we were teasing out going on a cruise, because I think we did that early 2022, didn't we?
I think so.
Yeah, and I've quite literally sailed around the world since then. So that's changed.
I have not.
Yeah. I mean, you got some cruising miles on, right?
True.
Yeah, but you unleashed a beast, that's for sure. So let's talk about AI. So there's a couple of interesting things I think maybe as a starting point. We could talk about the site. That feels boring because it was yesterday. But you were just telling me that you were going to have GPT help you rebuild a master resume from the ground up, which is interesting to me because I have tried this in the last year. I think I told you maybe a decade ago. I don't know. It probably wasn't that long ago, actually. To keep your resume up to date and to make it like a annual exercise. Because when I left Salesforce, which that's something else that's changed. I don't work at Salesforce anymore. When we did this podcast, that was my place of employment. Yeah. Wow. All right, there we go.
Well, that's a big reason we stopped the podcast is because I moved to West Music and started commuting a lot. So.
Yeah. And well, yeah. Oh man, wow, it's crazy to think how much changed. So anyhow, when I left Salesforce, that process, which we did not stream about, right? Because that was happening I guess actually that was happening as this podcast was winding down.
Yep.
But suffice to say, I had not kept my resume up to date over the 8.5 years that I was there. And starting with a resume that was 8.5 years old at the end of 2021 was a little insane. And I look back and I know I took a stab at it, and I've paid attention to resumes for people that I've interviewed, but it is just shockingly difficult to, one, write about yourself in an honest way, and two, to know how to craft a resume for a job description. Which I think in 2025, like you don't get to have the one resume to rule them all anymore, right?
Right.
Which leads us to our AI overlords, the robots, who we will all submit to in the fullness of time. I think this is a place that they can help us. And the last time I dabbled with this was probably 8 months ago. I don't know, maybe 9 months. It's been a while. I sent you my notes when I did it. And I would say it was all right. Like I think I came out okay content, but the thing that I have to remind myself, right, is this space changes so fast that the GPT that, like, quite literally, because there's a new version, right? But even like if I rewind pre GPT-5, the model I used the last time I did this is fundamentally different. Even if the version hasn't changed, it's fundamentally different.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So, all right. That's as good an intro, I guess, as any. What are you doing with your resume? Tell me about the plan.
So I literally had just started the process when we were doing that. But part of that is, yes, I think that you should update your resume annually. And I think a big thing is so that you actually put the things that you're impactful and have real numbers to put on the resume. So like there's that. What I found when I go and look back a decade ago at some of the jobs I was doing then, it's like, I don't remember. Like, I don't know what's impactful there. So like, how do you put things going on there? I have previously played with a custom GPT that was like a strategic resume builder, where it basically said, hey, here is a couple versions of my resume, here's a job posting, and let's craft it for that. That initially went okay, and then the longer it was around, the more it was out of date.
Okay, so we need to probably clarify something. You just said custom GPT, and I would venture to say I don't think most people know what that means. So you're literally talking about the
So
ChatGPT app.
we've got to like go to base level, like everything we learned a year ago, 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, maybe. But so here's the thing: like you're referring to a feature that's in the ChatGPT app that I don't
Mhm.
think most people use, right?
Interesting.
And like even speaking to myself, right? Like I don't use a ton of custom GPTs. Um, I use the AI song one, right? But
Mhm.
like I haven't gone gangbusters with that. So maybe let's take a step back. I guess the custom GPTs are in the iPhone app too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. So there's a little caret next to it. You got to fan it out, and then you'll just see the ones that you've used before, or explore GPTs. And I don't know, like take your best shot. Describe what a custom GPT is.
So basically, it puts additional knowledge and instructions on top of vanilla GPT, so you don't always have to include those in a prompt when you are starting a new chat or something like that. So if you always want the response to be structured the same way for a certain type of question, thing that you're doing, you can do it this way. I think a great one that you can probably find in the custom GPT library publicly available is like a recipe builder, where you put in what you have in your pantry, in your fridge, and then it will start to spit out a recipe that is ideally in the same format that you're looking for.
Okay, and here's something I haven't quite figured out. If I go into ChatGPT and I start a project, right? You've got the little area where you describe what the project is.
Mm-hmm.
I think the delta between that and a custom GPT is actually pretty small.
So, like, I think that you would have multiple custom GPTs within a project.
Well, you know what I'm talking about in the project, right? Like you can, it's a way you can organize chats, but you get that overall prompt, right? That
Sure.
sets context for every other prompt.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the part I mean. Like that overall context, I think, is the thing that really a GPT is. So the reason I say this is because I think you can go through the custom GPTs, look at what's there. They may or may not be helpful. But this idea of like creating your own, first of all, it's not hard to do, but you start by just experimenting with a project, and you're describing the thing you want to do and the way you want it done, right? And so
Yeah. So
um,
the real difference there would be if you build something that you want to share or not that other
right,
people can use.
exactly. And that's so the bridge between the thing I'm doing in a project or even a bunch of chats and the custom GPT is like, do I want to share it? And I don't know that like I interact with a lot of smart people who are in technology, and I don't think most people know how to talk to ChatGPT, let alone another LLM. So I'm not like I think this is a feature you probably use a lot, but it's up like a maybe a bridge too far for the average person. Uh,
Interesting. Okay. There is something more important than both projects and custom GPTs, though, and that is going into your settings and setting custom instructions. Your mileage
yeah,
may vary about how often it listens to those custom instructions, like if you tell it to never use an M dash again. But
yeah,
like
that won't work. Yeah,
that is
M dashes are
something
here.
like that's something that takes it from very vanilla, basic, generic responses to responses that are tailored for you in everything that you're asking about. So as I look through my things, I've got like cutting food expense tips and is Amazon Prime worth it as my Amazon Prime uh, subscription comes up this month. Things like that. So
So hold up, you have those in your custom directives down under what is it? It's like in the personalization section when you go to the settings.
yeah.
Okay, this is fascinating because I don't have that kind of detail in my custom instructions. My custom instructions are things here. I'll just read it to you because it's not that long. Tell like it is. Don't sugarcoat responses. Get right to the point. Be practical above all. When you are writing prose for me, make it warm and personable. Now, in memories, I've got a bunch of kind of things that you're describing, but in my custom instructions, they're actually
So
pretty
those
short.
were my chats recently that I was just running out. But custom instructions, I think you should probably take the LLM for a spin and get better instructions put in there.
So I will tell ChatGPT all the time, remember this, remember this, remember this. I think that's why I don't have a lot of custom instructions. What's interesting though, so I've been working on a little iOS app on the side. Um, Shoot, John, that's something that also has changed since we did this. I launched an app, working on the second one.
Yeah.
Wow, time flies. All right. Anyhow, um, so and I have an AI feature in it, right, that allows you to generate the thing that you can do. It's like allows you to track stretches, exercises, blah blah blah, old person exercises, and the prompt that I have is actually it's like quite long, right, just to describe what I want to come of it. You are a knowledgeable and supportive fitness expert, helping users create safe, effective, and personalized workout plans. Your goal is to provide workouts that match the user's needs while emphasizing proper form and injury prevention. Right? And then I give it a requirements list that quite literally is like 20 bullet points, and then I give it a couple of examples, right? And so after that's done, then the user prompt is embedded, right? And that's how it works. Um, so okay, we come back to my saved memories and custom instructions later. Let's get back to you used a custom GPT to do a passage of resume. How'd that go?
Initially, it was really great. I like fed it into every resume version that I still had sitting on my computer, and then I would feed it basically a job posting, and it would say, yes, I think that you're a good match for this, and then here's the things that I would tailor for that. That was before GPT-5 when I created it. So then when I tried to update it to use the new model, it was less effective. So I think basically I gave it memory that was bad. So bad data in uh, affected the output that it was doing. And I haven't gone back to fix it, but at some point I will.
Okay, that's fascinating. So I did this exercise I did. I actually was just looking. It was back in February. I was experimenting around with this. I went back to the resume I had at that time in LinkedIn, right? So I had dumped bullet points in LinkedIn, which I don't think is valuable anymore. I can go into that ad nausea another time. But I took that out, and then I actually sat and spoke to ChatGPT for a while and just told it about the things I had done at each of my past jobs and asked it to write a long form like work history, not
And
catered
you're
to any of the.
literally talking about voice mode, which is another feature that I don't know if everybody knows exists.
No, they definitely don't. Like that's my party trick when I'm doing the whole AI party trick thing. But I knew that I could sit and talk about what I had done, like at Salesforce for 8.5 years, right, and get some information captured quickly that way. The funny thing about this is, you rewind 2 years, right? So still after the last one of the podcast, I would periodically open up Zoom at work, and I would record just me talking to it. And I would take the transcript then and edit from what I had spoken, right? And then, about a year ago, I would start to take that transcript from the Zoom recording. This, again, it's just me talking, and I would dump it into, ChatGPT and say, "Hey, summarize this," right?
I think this
Or
works
make it
for
pretty.
someone of your personality, and like I just picture you talking to yourself all the time. But that I don't know if I work the same way. So,
So it could be partially my profession, right? Like I sit and pontificate, like that is what I'm paid to do, and so for me, like I don't always have the time to sit down and write, but I can walk around or do something else and talk at it for a while and then hope that it turns it into somewhat decent prose, right? That process has gone from recording in Zoom, exporting a transcript, making some edits, dumping it into an AI, pulling it out, making some edits, scrapping it, rewriting it, blah, 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 to I can pretty much now speak into ChatGPT and have it output the thing that I want. And some of it's me, right? I've learned how to talk to it. But it's also like the models have gotten better, the process has gotten better. So this is what I did though for my resume exercise. I was just like, I need to just create a single document with ad nausea detail or detail ad nausea, excuse me. And I have not gone back. So I use that then to like generate a couple versions, ship them around, blah, blah, blah. Right. I'm still the same place I was in February. So either they weren't good or I wasn't interesting or maybe both, who knows. But suffice to say, um, I've got that text. I want to add to that text, I think, and come back to this because I think they're better at taking the big thing and making the thing you need from it now. And they being
absolutely.
the LMs. So
Yep. Yeah, and that's kind of the same thing. I think I don't know. Like a CV is like a list of total of everything you've ever accomplished in your career, right?
I guess, but I like who does a CV anymore unless you're in academia,
Right.
right?
So that's what I'm kind of thinking. Like, do I have a master doc that tells the story of my impact in each of the professional positions that I've held?
Here's a hot take for you. I don't think your master document needs to describe your impact because I think the LM can derive your impact. I think your master document just needs a metric ton of detail about every single thing you've done. So let me just give you an example, right? Like, um, uh, here's a fact, right? So when I was at Salesforce, the software I worked on, Pardot, it grew. I don't know, like 20 million. I don't have these are not like real numbers. I'm making stuff up. 20 million to 200 million or 250 million, whatever. Right? I think it actually grew more than that, but who's counting? Anyhow, you could just say like that happened, right? Or you could even tell the LM like go look at earnings reports for Salesforce for that window, right?
Right.
Capture that, and then I could describe the things that I did. So I helped improve the scalability of the email sending pipeline. Right, that's something I did. Maybe that had something to do with the business. Blah blah blah. The point here is like the connection between it and the revenue or the growth of the business. So like Pardot grew from 20 engineers to 160 engineers. Like I think you could let the LLM make some of those connections. And the reason that I like this is because I actually think it's kind of hard to make my sales pitch for myself.
Sure.
right? So, if Pardot grew from
That's
20
coming from a
engineers,
guy with his name on 2 patents, and
well, and a podcast named after me, right? No, but think about this, right? So like the thing that I struggle with is, so I was a technical leader. I worked on a bunch of different systems. The business grew, right?
Mhm.
Did the business grow because I did X, Y, and Z? Maybe, right? But I think in a resume, you actually have to assert that,
Sure.
right? And I think that's a little hard to do in the sales pitch. So what I like about that is, or for the LLM rather, is I like go make the audacious claim that I'm not comfortable in making myself. Now, stick with the facts, right? But
What
make it in a
about
way
if
that works with the resume
what
or
about
the
if
job
you
description.
have held positions for companies that no longer exist?
Well, I mean, like capturing the data, you capture the data if the company doesn't exist. Um, I don't like. You probably want to make sure you don't convince the LLM that
I
you,
was the reason that
yeah,
doesn't
you're the reason that it's
exist.
gone. Um, it never ceases to amaze me how this happens, where I trick the LLM to do something stupid or to say something that's not right. I
I
did
mean,
this
that's part of
recently.
the fun.
It is sometimes it's a little demoralizing. I got a little frustrated. I was doing some research on shoes. I think you remember. I'm a little persnickety with shoes. I think we
A little
talked
bit.
about that.
I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
there is an episode there.
There's at least
Can
one
the
episode. Yeah,
LLM find that episode and link it in the show notes?
probably. Yeah, that's the thing. Maybe we should index all this stuff and just see. So here's the thing. You don't normally name your chats, right? You describe the thing you want, and then ChatGPT or Claude or whoever picks a name, and it's probably based on something you said, right? So I'm looking for a pair of running shoes. I started the prompt like this. So I am interested in looking at new running shoes. I am old and slow. I currently have Hoka Bondi 9s. They're fine, a little narrow in the toe box, I would say. I've tried New Balance shoes before, and I just don't like how they wear down. I was looking at some Brooks shoes. I'm just curious if you could give me some recommendations. That's
Yep.
the prompt.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I
Good use
thought it
of
was good.
ChatGPT.
I did this one on Claude actually for
On
reasons.
Claude. Okay.
So it titled it Brooks Running Shoes for Seniors. All right. So I'm like, okay, that might be a little too far. And I called that out. I was like, why did you call it a senior thing? And it apologized, blah, blah, blah. Right. But the point being, you got to fact check it, first of all. But you get to make the audacious claims. You get to just like rein it in a little bit.
I mean, was it wrong?
I don't think. Listen, I feel old. I feel old most days. I don't think I would use the
Looking more gray
term.
than when we stopped.
Oh,
With the last
there's
episode.
so much more gray, so much more gray. And then we could do a multi-episode series on why I am gray in
All the
places that I wasn't
influences.
before. Yeah.
Yep.
But no, I'm not senior. I would not use that word to describe myself. I said I'm old and slow. And yes, I think at age 40, I can call myself old. I had the quantifiable data to show that I'm slow when I run.
But faster than me.
Yeah, but like, when was the last time you ran, John?
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So, it just takes a couple times, man. You get going, as long as you don't drop over and die. But, all right, back to the resume. So I did that experiment. I haven't revisited it. Tell me what your plan is now, because you're doing your annual refresh.
I mean, I was just going to see what the LLM came up with and go from there.
So are you going to go the route of custom GPT again, or are you going to just do it in a conversation and roll from there?
For this exercise, I'm just going to do it from a conversation, mostly because I don't want it to have any solid context that would mess with the result. So it's
Okay.
like, hey, start out fresh and let's rebuild this from the ground up.
Oh, you're gonna actually like rebuild from scratch the history, the work history. Okay.
That's the goal. We'll
All right.
see where it ends up, but like I was literally in my first prompt when we started recording this.
There you go. Now, when you go down this journey, do you say like, "Ask me about my last job," or how are you talking to it to get the data flowing?
So basically, here's my first prompt. Let's work on rebuilding my master resume from the ground up. You're a recruiter with a 90% placement rate in high tech SaaS companies. You know what questions to ask and how to craft a resume to make it stand out. And that's
There you
where I
go.
left it, Stan, which is less than I would normally give it. I would tell it, hey, I want these kind of results. I want you to ask questions about something like that. So the response is perfect. Let's do this right. We'll rebuild your master resume as a living document you can tailor for each role, something that tells your story clearly to SaaS recruiters and hiring managers at a glance. Here's how we'll tackle it. And then it's got a list of step one, foundation, 7 questions that I have to answer. Once I have those, I'll design the resume structure, draft your top section summaries, build strong impact driven bullets and metrics, and SaaS friendly phrasing, give you a recruiter level critique to make sure it passes ATS and human scans. So, just in the response, the problem is we've got 7 questions, and then it thinks it's going to give me what I want, which I can almost guarantee is not going to be the case. So, at which point I will direct it to say, what do you want to dive deeper into? Are there any other questions, anything that I am missing or haven't thought about in these responses? I'm probably also going to have it take one question at a time instead of me writing, here's the answer to all 7 questions that you asked me.
Yeah. Okay. So there's some good pro tips buried in there. First of all, you describe the persona in your prompt. I suck at doing this. Like I more often than not do not describe my persona. In fact, the AI generation prompt that I gave you earlier, where it describes the persona up front, uh, I didn't even write that prompt. I actually had an LLM write that prompt
Mm-hmm.
using much less mature structure and
There's
phrasing.
Dharmesh Shah, the CTO and founder of HubSpot, is all in on AI. So if you have any interest whatsoever, you should follow him on LinkedIn and probably join his newsletter. He built a agent basically that is called Meta Prompt. So you put in your prompt and it spits out a better one that you can then feed into an LLM,
Meta
ChatGPT.
prompt. All right.
Metaprompt.com, I think, is the domain.
I really feel like that should be a .ai domain, but whatever.
I mean,
Yeah, he's
he has agent.ai, which I think this is basically built on.
sure. Yeah, he's generating a lot of good content. I am really curious how much of his content that we read is actually AI generated. I would venture to say most of it. Um, but I
Potentially.
don't know. I don't know. Yeah, like this is kind of the world we live in,
See,
right? Is
the
it?
difference is though, like he has the ideas and the thoughts, so it's like he's feeding that information in, and then it's spitting out. Okay, let's make a 3 series newsletter about this or something of that nature.
Oh, I am 100% not criticizing LM generated content. And I will go on the record a thousandfold here that I do not subscribe to the belief that there is no human creativity involved in AI generated content. Quite the opposite.
If you
So
want it to be
like,
good, yeah.
yeah, if you want it to be good, yeah, if you're looking for a shortcut or some craziness, like, yeah, you're crap in, crap out. But
And I
I
think that is the vast majority of people's experience. Like when you can visibly notice, like, yeah, this was AI generated. Scroll through LinkedIn for a while and see some of those posts, or like bad marketing copy and things like that. But that is basically a entry level marketing copywriter who has not been given any direction or held to any accountability or standards.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other thing that's interesting about these tools, as they build up memories and context about you, how you write, how you do things,
Oh yeah.
you will find more and more of what it outputs will sound like you or the way that you would write something. Um, and,
And
I
then you
like,
can challenge it too. It's like, that doesn't sound like anything I would ever say. And then it goes, oh, you're right. And then give you a better response.
right. And then they say, remember, I do X, Y, or Z or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Right. Like you can hone it in even further there. I think that's this is the thing that I don't think people know how to do, and so they look at it and it's like magic. It's not magic. But folks are not learning how to craft the thing unto themselves,
Right. Yeah, and I think that you and partially me, it's easier for us to grasp because we have dabbled in technology that made manual processes easier, or any kind of script that you have ever written, or any kind of like automations that we go through. I think that that is why it's taken off so quickly, specifically in the engineering space, software engineering space. But I think I think we're already just starting to see it in finance, and kind of these other people who have embraced technology early on there. But at some point, it's going to be everybody, just like everybody was on Facebook at one point, or like loves using an iPad. So,
yeah, I think that's all fair. I will say, as popular as LMs, AI, et cetera, are in my field right now in technology, it is fascinating watching what I would call the demographic splits around this tooling. So I'm right on the cusp of a era of engineer that had very little tool change in their tenure, right? So before me, especially, right, tool change was rapid. Language development was rapid. The number of languages were rapid. Around the time I come onto the scene, maybe a little bit later, you get a couple of things that are predominant in the space, right? Microsoft's got their stack. You got the open source world doing Java, and they create a massive following in those spaces that have been largely static for 15, 20 years, right?
sure.
And what I've started to notice is, at least in the circles I swing, the older you are on the technology side, right? So I'm excluding people who are not in technology. What I'm about to say, the older you are, actually, the more receptive you seem to be to these tools, and the younger you are, the more receptive you seem to be with these tools. It's that middle group right now that I'm seeing a lot of AI, LLM skepticism, and I think it's because they've just not had a ton of tool changes. So we're going to show our age. I've already like flagged myself as 40. What was your first operating system on your first computer?
On my first computer, like my actual computer that I owned, I think was Windows Vista. No, because I built a PC and I put. No, it must have been Windows Vista.
That's really your first one?
On a computer that I owned. So like early on, I remember like my dad had the Mac with the floppy disk in it, and I would play on that. Then we went through the Performa age, at which point we moved away from Mac for a time, and things like that. But
Okay, this is amazing to me. This is not what I expected you to say. So, just take a guess. What do you think the first operating system that I dabbled on was?
The first one that you dabbled on?
Yeah.
Windows 95.
Oh, gosh, if only.
Ear-
No,
earlier.
so the answer would either be MS-DOS on the Tandy 1000 or Basic 2 on the Commodore 64. Probably the latter was the first.
You're
right?
older than me. Like we had some exposure to that, like in school and doing things like that. But I was like, at some point, I was trying to hack out of the student lockdown system into actually being able to use that as a computer.
So coming after that, right? I would have done Windows 3.1. Maybe we did Windows 2. I don't remember that. It doesn't stick out. But I definitely remember 3.1. I remember 3.1 for work groups,
I know.
whatever the heck work groups were.
Yep.
I remember 95 in beta. I had a beta CD-ROM of Windows 95. No, I think they were floppies.
I put Windows 98 on the tower that I built.
Okay. I remember 98 releasing. I remember Windows ME, right? And
ME was another terrible operating system from the Windows class.
There were some rough years. 98 is in my head like what like 95 came into its own. XP obviously lived forever, right?
Yep.
And if you stop and just think about everything we just covered, it's really just like a 10, 12-year window.
Which is
Window.
crazy because it's
It is
like
crazy.
some of these some of them stayed around for a long, long time.
They stayed along for a long time. Yeah, absolutely. But you think about the delta between Windows 3.1 and Windows XP, right? All of the mutations to get there. It changed a lot. And the very paradigm by which we were working changed, right? So MS DOS
Yeah.
to Windows 3.1, 3.1 to 95, 95 to XP, right? Which was like maybe less of a jump, but still a pretty big jump. And so that era, right,
Well, and then
of
XP was forever. Like,
live forever. Yeah, exactly. XP is the beginning of the problem,
right.
right? So what you have then, you got a bunch of rapid change, and so we got used to our tools changing out from underneath us, right? And then things stopped changing, or at least they stopped changing as fast. And that happened, I think, on the programming side too, right? So the life cycle of Java was really, really slow. The tool chain around Java was really, really slow. And even if you look today, like it hasn't changed that much. And so folks who were coming into their own, and like, I'm gonna call it the XP era because I don't have another name for it. I think
Sure.
they're just less used to tools, languages, etc., changing on them. And so that's where I keep seeing resistance, right? The older folks,
Interesting.
me and older, they experience a lot of change, right? So they're like all in. Like, let me try using Claude, let me try using ChatGPT, blah blah blah. And then you got the younger folks who they're just excited. They're still excited about technology, right?
Right.
And they're excited about the change, and so they're embracing it. The only other thing I equate to that was like that kind of rapid fire change would be around mobile, but it changed in a way that was so greenfield. Like there was nothing you weren't like nobody thinks about like going from my Nokia to my iPhone as like an evolutionary change. The iPhone was a different thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And the iPhone has evolved incrementally in that time in a what I would call a greenfield space. So it's different than like my operating system kept changing, like fundamentally changing underneath me. I don't know. That's my hunch. So
Interesting. Where do you think software plays into this? Because like even like the business technology landscape has changed fairly rapidly, even before AI.
it has, but it hasn't, right? So let me give you a counterpoint to that because you look at the last 10 years, software as a service exploding, right? We're doing more on the internet, all of that. But then I look back to like when at Salesforce, right? We just released software 3 times a year, which felt slow. It was fine. I'm not knocking it. But the reason, like the big reason for that was enterprises move slow in adopting software, right? And so
Right.
they were trying not to change too fast for their users.
Right.
And there's
Basically
something,
alienate them. Yeah.
yeah, and there's something to that, right? And I think that we had like everything's cyclical, so we've had these burst moments where there was like a bunch of stuff released rapid fire, and then it slowed down, right? And I think we've been in a long slowdown cycle, to be completely frank with you, until recently, right?
Interesting.
Let me ask this: rewind 2 years. How many software subscriptions do you have 2 years ago?
Me personally?
You personally, and because you're cheap, you don't have a ton of
I'm cheap.
subscriptions, right?
Right. 2 years ago, probably the same amount that I have now. Actually, probably
Really?
more than I have now.
Jonathan. So I would dare say 2 years ago, I had a single, I'm not counting iCloud for reasons. I had a single subscription. It
Okay.
was one password. I don't think
Okay.
I had any other subscriptions than that.
Interesting.
Yeah. And now I got like, I'm constantly trying to keep track of what I'm subscribing to because everything is a subscription. And the AI, the LLM realm that we're in, right, is creating even more subscriptions for me. I'm trying to decide right now, Jonathan, if I should cancel Claude or ChatGPT or both. Like, and I don't want to cancel both, but like, I know that I'm paying for more than I need right now.
Right.
And so that balance, right? And that's just two of the subscriptions. Throw in Grammarly there, which is basically like an AI product now too. Um,
Yeah, I'm wondering if you need Grammarly anymore.
it's the user interface for Grammarly is still advantageous to me, right?
Okay. Because you don't have to take a next step at this point.
Yeah, and I'm like looking at here's the other thing too. It also fixed a multitude of sins that I have from LLM generated content, right?
Ah,
And so it's like the M dash problem. Snap your fingers, it's gone.
yeah.
Um, Apple Writing Tools is too big bang in the way that it changes content. But I don't know if you know this. Grammarly, they bought some companies. They're changing their identity. They're shifting away from writing as the principal thing. So who knows? All bets are off. But I don't know. I generally think that we had been in a lull. We're picking back up, and now it seems like everything's moving crazy fast again. So
Well, now, circling back to, hey, we have the website rebuilt and things like that, it makes iteration or building things from 0 to 1 really, really frictionless if you know how to wield the tools.
and it makes experimentation really cheap, right?
Right.
So redoing the website, there were a number of things where we just did an experiment, we threw it out, which is fine because it's literally like some robot doing some work for me, opening up a pull request. I looked at it like, nope, this isn't for me. Throw it away.
Yeah.
And that
And I
that
mean, you
ability,
hit your usage cap there a couple times, but
yeah. Well, that's a problem in its own right. I feel like we could go circles on that one too. But the current realm allows for rapid fire experimentation that is super cheap from an experimentation standpoint, right? You just throw it away. Not a big deal. But which, coming back to your resume, like what's the end state here? How are you going to know what success looks like?
I mean, I haven't gotten that far into the project yet. It could be something I just throw away. It's like,
All right. I am curious, if nothing else, if you can come up with a work history that you can use to drive the future.
right. At least get something documented that I don't have currently.
Right. And I think the key is something documented that is not opinionated in toward the vehicle it's going to be used. Right.
Right.
So that right now, I think that would be huge. And I don't have all the time this week, but maybe I'll take my own stab at that. So
There you go.
well,
now we'll run into your coding usages.
Coding usages, and we could go weeks and weeks and weeks. I think and actually, one last thing, and then we'll wrap it up. I am thinking about doing a little vibe code session on YouTube with Claude Code, vanilla project from start to scratch. I'm just going to time box it an hour because I could be there much longer. But just because I keep telling people my process, and I'm sure that my process is not crisp or well tuned because again,
Sure.
I'm not like describing my personas like you are in your prompts, but
depending on the prompt. But yeah,
just to share what that looks like, I'm thinking about doing it, John. I might give it a whirl.
I'd tune in so you get at least one view.
One view.
Yeah.
That'd be enough. I don't know, like the recording of itself, like it being live, that may or may not be interesting, but having it to show people later on, that could be cool. Or
That could be cool. And I'd be curious if you ran it back through an LLM and say, hey, what do you think of this process? Where could I improve?
If you can find me an LLM that will take a video and do that, game on. Because I think actually processing video right now, that's the golden goose, at least for me.
Okay.
There's a little bit of that right now in ChatGPT. So if you're a pro user, you've got the conversation mode, you can actually hit a video button, and it's okay. I actually got a little mad at it today. I was having it watch me do push-ups, and it told me that I had really good push-up form on my knees. And I was like, I'm not on my freaking knees. What are you talking about? So, there's some room to improve.
Does Notebook do something like this with YouTube videos?
Notebook LM?
Yeah.
That's a darn good question. I am going to confess to having not done a lot of Notebook LM work.
I mean, this podcast could have been created from Notebook LM.
Oh, it totally could. Oh yeah, upload your sources, upload PDFs, websites, YouTube videos, audio files, and more.
Okay, so that's where I would try it once you get this recorded.
Okay, all right. That's oh man, see, it's getting more and more interesting. More and more interesting. I always forget this exists.
It's a cool use case. I feel like the things that we're using LLMs for day to day, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you were going like deep, heavy research on something that you only want it on a specific data set, I think it can be very, very powerful.
There's just not enough time in the day. You know, I downloaded
I know, man.
I downloaded Comet by Perplexity. I got it installed, logged in. That's as far as I've gotten.
Yeah.
So, but all right, Jonathan. I think assuming that the recording isn't total trash and that the new world we're in works, maybe we have our first episode. We're back. All right. Until next time.
That's a wrap, yo, time to unplug. Stan and John just served that mug. Twist of lemon, sharp and clean. Truth and tech on your podcast screen. Catch us next time, don't let it slip. Wisdom packed in every clip. From faith to fiber, finance to code. We're taking the mic down the open road. Stay sharp, stay bold. That's the theme with a lemon twist and a pod stream. Dream, 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 dream. Yo, time to unplug. Stan and John just served that mug. Twist of lemon, sharp and clean. Truth and tech on your podcast screen. Catch us next time, don't let it slip. Wisdom packed in every clip. From faith to fiber, finance to code. We're taking the mic down the open road. Stay sharp, stay bold. That's the theme with a lemon twist and a pod stream. Dream, dream, dream.